that the audio is at least presentable in some way. And so we are gonna do it like that. It should be rather fine and rather good. You know, at least better. I do certainly not have to have like amazing audio and or whatsoever, but still, you know, having some sort of quality is also a bit nice. And I also do not need to be concerned about anything just not being the way as I want it to be. Still, today, the last few days were once again a bit more stressful, but in a way of, I don't fucking know. Health-wise, it is very interesting, you know? Especially when you're not sleeping nearly enough as you should. And seemingly also kind of are tired and so on and so forth. Then the days are very interesting, days are really cool, and days are certainly not as easy as they could be. But apparently the stream is working and we can start. We're gonna have a really quick look at the Psychology Today site. I was just looking for my window or my tab because I thought that it is just still open, but apparently this is not really the case. But anyway, because yesterday I found such a great article that was so interesting, so I do hope that maybe today we're also gonna find that, you know, we're also gonna encounter that and see that, but maybe I'm just gonna be wrong as well, because yesterday we were talking about the bad guy, you know, it's the bad guy having all the women, having all the bitches, having all the hookups, and you know, whether this really is the case or whether this is just something that movies and stuff want us to believe in, which I think then in the real end, if the majority believes in it, then it is the truth, isn't it? I would say, I would argue. And I think we all have certainly known someone or in any way, you know, whether it is actually a friend of yours or a friend of a friend or a friend of a friend of a friend or whatever, then still you know this person, you know one person that is actually pretty bad but still has hella bitches. Anyway, how could I actually be serious about stuff like that, or how could I be taken as somebody serious? Are dogs capable of telling lies? Stop stressing about things you can't change. Actually, something very stoic and apparently also pretty popular. The high cost of man's loneliness. What are cluster C personality disorders? You know what? Can I? There we go. Because maybe, just really maybe, I am able to encounter a book that I haven't gone through yet. It's actually a very short summary. Therefore, the 4-minute book is a pretty good one, because it always is a great way to spark some ideas and spark some interest in me, and therefore also in you. What is your goal? I want to get rich, I want to have better habits, and I want to be happier. Which one is it? None of them, because I want to go through the book summaries. So what is it going to be? You know, which book summary? I should probably not do that. Should I take science, biography and history, economics? Let's actually take biography and let's see what we're having there. Open summary. Oh, Open is the autobiography of world-famous tennis player Andrea Agassi, in which he details his struggles and success on the way to self-awareness and balance. You know what? Do I really have to do it like that? I mean, this certainly would also work, I assume. I guess, I hope. I really hope. Dark Tower summary. Dark Towers dives into the dirty inner workings and the rise and fall of Deutsche Bank, which means German bank, and it is, I think, the National Bank of Germany, some kind of. I'm actually not that knowledgeable in that space. So yeah, anyway. Including the American railroad system and the Nazi regime funding Russian oligarchs and even the election of Donald Trump. I mean, they certainly have a lot of money, so probably there is also something in it for them. Then there's Green Lights that I have already gone through as far as I remember on a podcast, which basically is Matthew McConaughey's autobiography, which is actually really interesting. And also Will Smith, I guess at this point in time, already released his autobiography. Very interesting personalities, and of course there is a ton of money in that space and that opportunity as well. So one could argue about the reasons why people publish their own book. I mean, of course, it is an experience. It is something that quite every celebrity does in any sort of way. You know, quite often it is just written by somebody else, kind of, or with the help of somebody else. So just quite never ever entirely alone. Which, you know, is not necessarily something bad, of course, but I guess this kind of also underlines the reasons why somebody's doing so, you know, why somebody is writing a book. Anyway, A Promised Land summary. Former President Obama's memoir, in which he tells the stories of his background, how he got into politics, and what it was like. Well, no, I certainly do not want to become famous, so I'm probably not gonna buy myself followers, but thanks a lot here in the chat. Enthusiasm makes up for a host of deficiencies. Well, yes, I think it does. Also to the degree of... No, it just does, period. But that's actually... I thought in biographies I'm gonna find something rather amazing, but psychology, happiness and self-improvement, 10 days to faster reading, sales, work, mindfulness. That's actually true psychology. You know, most often in the psychology space and realm, we find interesting things. Humor seriously explores how bringing fun and entertainment into the workplace can enhance team productivity. The Little Book of Talent. Fail fast, fail often. The joy of missing out. Let's actually, read that one. The Joy of Missing Out explores today's idea of productivity and common misconceptions about what it means to be productive, as well as how eliminating unnecessary stress by prioritizing effectively can help us live a better life. And I do want, not just because I'm reading it already, yes, a lot of things are really unnecessary, and most often we think that we are being productive, but in the end we're just trying to be busy. And busyness and productiveness, they are two entirely different things. If you've ever found yourself feeling unsuccessful and still not where you want to be, although you're the type of person to seize opportunities and stay responsible busy throughout the day, we have some news. You need to learn how to better manage your time. For starters, learn that being busy does not equal being productive. The Joy of Missing Out will teach you how to do those things and more. Once you truly understand how to become more productive, start implementing the strategies from the book, you will notice how your professional and personal life will improve. You don't even have to put in more effort or dedicate other resources, apparently. But what does other resources mean? Does it mean money? Other resources, but time, I guess. Here are my 3 favorite lessons from the book. The first one, and I'm actually already gonna get into the more detailed version of them. Figure out what is most important to you from top to bottom and use your time accordingly. Let's start with a universal truth you should always keep in mind from now on. Our lives aren't perfectly balanced, so you shouldn't try to achieve perfect equilibrium in all areas of interest. Why? Because you cannot dedicate the same time and effort to all of the things you are going on in life, or things going on in your life. Life moves forward, and trying to stay still in such a dynamic environment will eventually cause more damage than if you were just to ride along with whatever comes at you. For example, imagine you're juggling 3 balls. At any given point, 2 of them are more important as you're holding them, and one will always be up in the air, being less of a concern for you at the respective moment. The same goes on for life. Learning how to juggle with all areas of your life and prioritize which ones are more important at a given time will bring more balance in the end. Also, you would most likely end up not finishing anything at all that can impact your well-being and have detrimental effects on your morale. Therefore, try to create a schedule for yourself and prioritize based on a daily or a weekly basis. Don't aim for quantity, but rather for quality. Well, I'm a fan of quantity. This is why I'm most often having a really hard time thinking about quality and suggesting anyone to focus on quality. Lesson 2, start living better by developing good, healthy habits. Build a strong, self-tailored happy system. Automate healthier choices in your life according to your goals, such as including a piece of fruit in your daily breakfast if you're looking to eat better, or waking up earlier to practice yoga if achieving mindfulness is one of your objectives. Although it may not be easy at first, healthy habits will prove their worth in the long run. Keep in mind that it takes 66 days for the brain to get accustomed to a habit. Thus, give yourself time and be determined when you feel like giving up. Speaking of the brain, try not to overwork it with unnecessary information. The remarkable organ already consumes 20% of all our daily calories. Overloading it will cause it to lose its energy and function properly. Therefore, instead of helping you make good decisions, it will frustrate you. Lesson 3, learn to press pause from time to time and enjoy the little things in your unstructured time. Make it a habit to stop and recharge during your working hours, and you will notice how your productivity levels rise even as you lower the time input. And so on and so forth. Nothing really new, but still, just because it is something you have already heard doesn't mean that it isn't important. Doesn't mean that it isn't something that you should be focusing on. It isn't something that needs to be talked about, needs to be thought about essentially as well. To really achieve anything, you have to be able to tolerate and enjoy risk. It has to become a challenge to look forward to. By Stephen Cutler. Tell the truth all the time about everything. What is the alternative to radical honesty? Waste. Wasted time, wasted money, and wasted possibilities, a wasted life. And almost I feel like, I don't know, I don't want to do this to people. I feel like, why not doing it differently if I can? And certainly we all can, period. If you want to make sure your brain has enough opportunities to clean itself, guard your sleep, especially during the first part of the night. And also, as far as I have also noticed it in my life, sleeping earlier in the day and waking up earlier the next day is, at least for me, maybe it probably really depends on who you are and what you do and whatnot, but I have seen that this works way better for me compared to just having the same amount of sleep but only on the next day quite, if you know what I mean. From 0 to 8 a.m. Besides the fact that I really dislike it. I really dislike getting up late because I feel like I'm just not getting all the things done that I wanted to get done. But in the end, it actually doesn't really matter in terms of productivity, in terms of doing things, in terms of getting things done, because you're still having the exact same amount of time to do probably the exact same amount of things. Of course, if days differ and the workload on different days also differ, so it's probably also smart to think about that and then accordingly just wake up earlier, wake up later. I mean, I don't know, guard your sleep. This is, I guess, something that is important to think about. Do bad boys get all the rewards? Maybe I should actually write girls, but I am not sure. Anyway, the secret world of weather. Randomness is not great survival strategy, so it is a rare in nature. I don't know. I mean, it is rare in nature. Doesn't mean that it is not existent. Doesn't mean that at some point of time it didn't play a role. And so on and so forth. Happiness. This is going to be the last one for today. Fear is the greatest killer of creativity. We get lost in these thinking traps of beating ourselves up and begin to have this mental filter where we only see the negative things and ignore the positives. We forget about gratitude. There was actually a really interesting podcast episode and also YouTube video around gratitude and around gratitude practices by Andrew Huberman, which was just really amazing. Once again, one of the most amazing, probably the most amazing podcast that I have found in this year, I would say. And I mean, he's only been doing this for 10 months, and he's so good at talking, he's so good at presenting, he's so good at what he's talking about as well, and it's just amazing information. Gratitude and listening to gratitude stories where other people get basically praised does something to us, if I remember correctly, but you should really check it out. So praise that we're getting, things that we're getting is way more powerful than the gratitude and the praise that we're given. So, the question then is, how can I do it that I'm always getting praised? Question mark. It's definitely not that easy for most people. On the other hand, as I said, stories can help. Stories about other people being praised, other people being talked about in a good manner, as far as I remember, once again. But still really interesting. And with that being said, I am going to end this little tiny stream. I'm going to see you the next time. So, bye-bye. Or not.